union, you say power. I say union, you say power. Union, power. Union, power. Union, power. Union, power. I say fast track, you say no. I say fast track, you say no. Fast track. No.
At least today we say, I say green, we say power. I say green, we say power. Green, power. Green, power. I say student, we say power. I say student, we say power. Student, power.
Hey, this is Robert Brune with DC Meeting Group here with Dan Byrnes of the Sierra Club. This is a CWA TPP rally. Dan, what can you tell me about Sierra Club being involved in this rally?
The Sierra Club stands with our brothers and sisters at the Communication Workers of America and our other friends and allies in the labor movement. We're here to say that we need fair and responsible trade and to say no.
Fair trade is not free. Better world for you and me. Fair trade is not free. Better world for you and me. Fair trade is not free. Better world for you and me. Fair trade is not free. Better world for you and me.
Closed doors. It's time that we adopt policies. Whether they're in trade agreements or federal budgets or elections that represent the interests and the will of all Americans. Yeah! And like you, I have many concerns about the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations. We've seen the impact of past trade policies, haven't we? Yeah! And we are committed to making sure that we don't repeat past mistakes. Right. Trade is good if it is fair. I'd actually like to vote for a fair trade agreement. Right. But all too often, trade agreements are designed with the interests of large multinational corporations in mind and at the table, and not the needs of the American people. American workers and workers around the globe need a fair trade agreement. Too often they're more about making money than making environmental progress, and too often they are designed to put money in the pockets of a pharmaceutical industry that is making profits at the expense of healthcare consumers, not just in developing countries, but here at home. And I want to focus on the pharmaceutical chapter for just a moment. I believe that U.S. pharmaceutical companies should have a fair chance to sell their products, but I don't believe that brand name drug companies should be allowed to use trade agreements negotiated behind closed doors to drive up the price of life-saving medications or block access to low-cost generics. They are putting patents and profits ahead of patients. Right. Frontline groups like Doctors Without Borders are aggressively fighting these provisions because they know that increased drug prices are the equivalent of death notices to their patients. Yes. But we're hearing more and more from state legislators, safety net providers, and patient advocates right here in the United States. They too are concerned about the impacts that TPP and other trade agreements can have on U.S. policies, perhaps preventing Medicare price negotiations, perhaps limiting states' ability to adopt single-payer policies, and perhaps driving up the costs for clinics. So as a member of Congress, I believe that those decisions should be debated by legislators in full view, not slipped into trade agreements where drug companies get to have a say, but consumers and elected officials and ordinary people are locked out.
This is Robert Brune from DC Meeting Group here with Congresswoman Schakowsky at the CWA TPP rally. So can you tell us a little bit about your stance on TPP?
You know, look, I would like to vote for a trade agreement. If it were a fair trade agreement, this is an international marketplace, but we have experience with those trade agreements. They don't work very well for ordinary workers in our country or in other countries. I'm also very concerned that this is going to drive up the cost of prescription drugs, making life-saving drugs unaffordable in developing countries around the world. There are many problems. They are fixable, and I'm certainly hoping that my friend and President Barack Obama will do just that.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're not going to vote for that fast track because we have no idea what would be in the tray. So now we face, I think, not fast track, because they know we can't support it. The question will be, as the administration negotiates a TPP, whether it will be true to the breakthrough that we brought forth in the May 10th agreement over a decade ago. And let me just spell out quickly a few of these issues. Labor rights is one of them. We have to maintain the rights of workers in other countries to be able to organize. And that's a major issue in Vietnam, where workers have no rights unless they belong to one so-called union. It's a real issue with Vietnam. The same is true, I want to say, of currency. We have seen other countries, including China, manipulate their currency, costing hundreds of thousands of jobs in the United States, millions of jobs, and we have to insist that as trade negotiations go forth, there has to be a provision relating to currency so that the workers of this country are protected from countries that manipulate their currency to hurt American jobs. There's probably been mention of food safety, and this is now being negotiated in TPP. We have also made clear we do not want the food regulations of this country that protect the food safety to be dismantled in any negotiation. We're proud that our food is safe, and we're not going to allow any trade agreement to undo that safety. So I could go on and on, but I won't, because the issue is clear. When Fast Track was brought up, we said, look, we don't agree to fast track anything if we have no idea what the hell is in it, pardon. We also want to make sure there's complete transparency. So Larry and other people in the labor movement have the right to see all the documents that the business world sees. Because up till now, in most of these entities, the labor movement has been shut out. Trade is the business of all Americans, not just a selected few, and we're going to stand up for that. So, as we go forth, my urge is that you not just make this a one-day interest, that you insist that all of us in Congress and all of the groups, including labor, have a key role to play. Because I want to end this having come from a state so impacted. You know, it's so unfair when we have one-way trade. It is so unfair when Japan and other countries can have complete access to us, when our workers and our auto companies and others cannot have any dent in another market. We realize we live in a global economy, but it can't be a one-way street.
Yes.
So I'm here to say, to promise you, we fought way back in the May 10th agreement for the first time to say that workers everywhere have their rights. And I'll close with Bangladesh. I was there with my wife for 2 days. I talked to some workers who had worked in the apparel industry. They said to me, we survived. We didn't want to go into that place. We were told if we don't go in, we lose our job. 1,100 people in Bangladesh in a few hours lost their lives because they did not have the right to be represented by a labor organization. This trade issue is an issue that everybody has to have a role and everybody has to try to benefit. And we're no longer going to stand for any agreement that shuts out any portion of the American people, including those of you who work hard for a living. That's our pledge, and we're going to carry it out. Thanks so much for coming. The rain has stopped, the sun will shine, and we're going to work hard.